everyone, what's up? It's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I wanted to talk about Paedon Brown again because he is really spilling the tea, as it were, on various, he's gone live. I believe he either went live on TikTok or Instagram, either last night or the night before. He did another interview following the Kate Casey Reality Life with Kate Casey interview. He did another one with Surviving Sister Wives podcast, and there were some revelations that I wanted to talk about today. So on Monday the 7th, I'm not sure when this interview was recorded, but on Monday the 7th, Kody and Carley released their interview with Paedon on their podcast, Surviving Sister Wives. I will link that down in the description of this video. I do listen regularly to this podcast. I find it pretty entertaining. I highly recommend, just a personal endorsement, if you will. If you're looking for Sister Wives recaps, I do enjoy their podcast. I really enjoyed this interview. One of the things, Kate Casey with her interview, that was a good interview as well, but it really was a high level interview. It didn't really get into the details. I'm not sure how she curated her list of questions. And Carley asked their listeners, what do you want to know when we interview Paedon? And I'm sure they picked out the ones that they were like, oh, he'll probably be more likely to answer these. And Paedon was a really good sport. I just thought it was a really enlightening interview. I really enjoyed it. What I want to talk about today is just the beginning of the interview. Right off the bat, we asked Paedon about his relationship with Kody, and they acknowledged, we know that you don't really want to talk about Kody, but and Paedon was like, hey, ask me the questions. If I don't want to answer it, I'll say I don't want to answer it. And I thought that was a really good approach to take because, hey, just shoot your shot. Ask the question. Why not? So he was asked about his relationship with Kody, and it appears that Kody saw Paedon's viral TikTok at this point about his "What Does the Nanny Do" shirt, and he got big mad about it. Let's just listen to this clip from the Surviving Sister Wives podcast.
And I know you don't want to talk too much about your dad, but maybe we can answer this at a high level. So
ask the question and I will decide whether or not tell you I'm not going to answer that.
Okay.
We can go from there.
That's a deal.
Your dad had mentioned that his relationship with Gabe and Garrison was still in a pretty bad place post everything that we saw in season 16 with COVID. How is your relationship with him?
Please don't let this get back to him. But after I wore a very specific shirt that said a very specific phrase, I was not digging at him or Robin. A bunch of oh, he's attacking Robin. I was not. It's a funny shirt. That's it. But after I wore that shirt, it really blew up. And Dad found out from Twitter. I don't have a Twitter. Somebody else took it from my TikTok and put it on Twitter.
That is funny because actually in the tell-all, they had a little picture-in-picture thing going on. And they showed the footage of your mom asking the big question, what does the nanny do? And he actually laughed at it. Anyway, I'm pretty sure he does not listen to the podcast, so I think that you're safe there.
I think that's fair.
Mom was not digging at Dad and Robin or the nanny when she asked. She was curious about why the nanny can go there. So she wasn't happy. She was in a bad mood when she said it. And a lot of people took it as, she's attacking Kody. And I'm like, you're all just taking this a bit too far. And thank you for supporting my mother, but just rein it back.
Right. And I think there's a double meaning to the audience, right? Because she was asking, what does the nanny do from a COVID sense? And we all want to know, what does the nanny do on a daily basis at Robin's house?
Yeah.
I could not tell you. I honestly don't know. I've never even met her.
Oh, and when Carley talks about Kody's reaction to the "what does the nanny do" question, this is what she's talking about.
What is the nanny doing that makes it so they can come over? What does the nanny do?
I'm looking. All in all, I really agree with Carley that the viewers definitely read a double meaning into the question, what does the nanny do? I know I sure did. It has sort of become like a catchphrase for Sister Wives. It's really iconic. Lots of merch going around. I even made merch regarding it. But it very classic, very iconic. So when Carly said she thinks that viewers read a double meaning into the word, into that question, I know I for sure did. Paedon confirms that the meaning behind it was Christine was frustrated that, there was no clear conditions to how Kody was going to be visiting family members. He was staying away, but at the same time, they have an employee and an employee's husband coming into their home. So Christine was like, what does the nanny do in order for her to be around you when you have a daughter that had a back surgery, a brutal back surgery, and she'd like some dad time? So what does the nanny do? A lot of viewers, myself included, wondered additionally what the nanny does all day in a house full of adults. Now, Paedon does talk about in this interview that Kody does have a job outside of the show. It's speculated, heavily speculated, and more or less confirmed that it might have to do with firearm sales. So I don't know why that is so, secretive for them to talk about, but such is what it is. So Paedon says he does have a job outside of the show, but okay, so even if he's going to a day job, what does Robin do? What does Kody's adult children that live in the home do? He has two over 18 kids living in the home, and Brianna, who is, I think, about 17 years old at this point. She's certainly past the age that Aspen and Logan were, where they were essentially parentified into raising a lot of the kids that Kody was producing. What does the nanny do for a lot of viewers? And maybe a lot of the Brown children and Brown wives could also include, and did include for me, what is the nanny what is the nanny doing for you that you did not allow any of the other wives to benefit from extra childcare outside of the wives? And I've made many videos regarding this, and I think it all boils down to Kody just didn't want the influence of Janelle or Christine or their kids that are getting independent minds, to influence the older kids in Robin's house. I think it was really as simple as that. But moral of the story is there are two minor children living in Robin's house, and they're not infants, they're not newborns, they're not even young toddlers that really get into everything. The adults in the home, and I'm gonna just lump Brianna in since we considered Logan and Aspen, McKelty, Mariah, since we all relied on them for childcare at that age, I'm just gonna lump her right in as an adult. The adults in the house outnumber the tender age kids, as Kody calls them, which is just a very ick way to describe your minor children. I just don't like it at all. So yeah, what does the nanny do? What is the nanny doing? I guess the question should be, what does Robin do? I guess we know what the nanny does. The nanny's, providing childcare. She's providing school support. She's doing the grocery shopping, or her husband's doing the grocery shopping. So I guess the real question should be, what does Robin do? What is everyone doing that a nanny is necessary? So I guess that's the real question here. It seems that Kody, and this was a question that I had been having, because it used to be in seasons past that the wives and Kody would live tweet throughout the episodes. They would offer some clarification as to something that maybe viewers misunderstood. But that all stopped in about April of 2021. And I suspect that it was because Kody was just receiving such backlash for the way he was being portrayed on the show. I think that the mask has really come off. We're just really seeing these toxic relationships for what they are. And I'll have a video coming. I don't think Robin and Kody's relationship is all that functional. I mean, he does want his own house on Coyote Pass. So that is a video that will be coming soon. But It is clear that Kody is still keeping up with the Twittersphere to see what is being discussed regarding their family, because apparently this is where he saw Paedon's TikTok video. How dare Paedon come for sweet angel, gift from God Robin like that? How dare he? Ultimately, Paedon, one of the big overarching themes of this interview was that Kody's relationships with his kids that aren't living in Robin's house are essentially destroyed. And it all comes down to this non-compliance, this distrust, this lack of loyalty. And I feel like this is kind of really unfair because, Paedon and Gabriel have both echoed the fact that Kody has always championed liberty, individual freedom, doesn't want the government to encroach on people's personal lives. That has been a big thing when fighting against these bigamy laws in Utah. This has been a big, talking point for Kody. So all of a sudden he seems to flip and do a 180. Paedon talks about how he was surprised that Kody did do such a 180 because in the beginning, when the shutdowns first happened, Kody was worrying about the economy and how this is going to affect small business. He even talks about how his business was affected because he can no longer go to conventions, which, leads more and more people to believe that his business is in firearms. So he goes from worrying about the economy to wanting everybody to just stay inside their home, of course, except for the nanny. She can work. But, their kids, they all have to give up their jobs. They all have to give up their social lives. They have to give up everything if they want even a breadcrumb of Kody's attention. Now, Kody never said, if you do this, we'll go back to a regular schedule where it's 2 nights, 2 nights, 2 nights, 2 nights, whatever. He just said, if you want the opportunity for me to be in your orbit, you better follow these rules. So it's that's not even a guarantee. And Christine mentions that in the tell-all. It's do I choose the off chance of seeing Kody, or do I nourish my relationships with my kids? Anyways, you guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Reality Squad, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Have a good one. Much love.